So we're going to start simply and we're going to work our way up. If you only listen to people who you agree with and you like to hear, that is the definition of closed minded. You are closed minded. You are living in a filter bubble because you close your ears and bury your head whenever you hear someone you disagree with. That is the opposite of open mindedness. That's why it's so important to listen carefully to understand what the other people are actually saying. If you misrepresent what they're saying in order to attack them based on your misrepresentation, then you just admitted you don't have a real argument. It's that simple. So you need to listen to the people you disagree with. There's many kinds. There's not just two sides. And you need to understand what the concept is that they're actually communicating. You don't get to misrepresent their concept just so you have an easier time tearing it down. That's called a straw man argument. And the only people who do that are the ones who know that they don't have a real argument. So as soon as someone misrepresents your concept, you have a concept in your brain and they misrepresent it to have an easier time tearing it down, they just admitted that they can't actually argue. They know that they don't have a real argument. And when you do the same, you are the same. So that's a critical concept because it comes up on all the different sides of all the different debates. Whether it's politics and economics, whether it's culture, ethnicity, gender, all the different issues. We got people on each side who are using tactics that prove that they don't have a real argument. And they refuse to listen to what the other side is actually saying. If you fail to understand the concept that the other side is saying, then you're not fit to judge. You can't judge someone when you don't even understand what they're saying. And if you're not able to do that, then you can't be the judge of anything. Period. Because you fail at the comprehension test. Basic reading comprehension, you don't do it, then you don't get to evaluate. You're off the list for being judged on that issue. That's just the basics. So let's get to the next concept. Ethics are a set of real principles that apply to everyone equally. This is what we mean when we say bigotry and injustice. If a white person did something and the judge let them off the hook, but then a black person does the same thing and they get sent to jail, that's injustice. That's bigotry. We have to have the same ethical standard for all humans. That's ethics. If a man does something and he's castigated and canceled for it, and then a woman does the same thing and she gets away with it, that is injustice. That's unethical behavior. It doesn't matter which demographic you're from. Ethics is the same for everyone. And if you don't understand that, you just admitted to being unethical. You don't suddenly become right. You just admitted you're unethical, that's all. So let's look at a few more details about that. There's a categorical problem with the conversation on each side of all these issues, where someone on that side says, I was abused by the other side. And that justifies, it excuses me abusing everyone from that side. Everyone on that side, I get to abuse them because someone from that side abused me. That argument of justifying abuse of another human soul is only used by people who value and desire to be abusive. Only someone who wants to abuse ever says, I get to abuse because. The people who are actually virtuous and ethical are the ones who say, I was abused, like most people. Most people on earth got abused at least once in their life. And that's why we all need to end all of the abuse. We need to end all abuse. If you want to justify abusing someone else because you were abused, you just admitted to being an abuser. If you abuse someone else, that means you're the abuser and they're the victim. And if you were abused before, well, when you were abused, you were the victim and they were the abuser. But as soon as you abuse someone else, you are the abuser. It's categorical. The only people who justify doing evil are evil people. That's always how it is. When a good person does something wrong, because we're not perfect. Good people are not always doing the best ever perfectly. We're not saints. When good people do something wrong, we feel bad about what we did. We empathize with the victim. We admit fault for what we've done. We, on our own, by our own intrinsic motivation, seek to make right what we did wrong. That is the difference between a good person and an evil person. Good empathizes with the people they harmed and cleans up the mess and admits fault. Evil seeks to justify and excuse the harm they do to others. So let's look at an example. Let's see if this can rock your boat a little bit. Imagine what kind of person this person would be. If aliens were watching this person and this person was a character in a movie, what would the aliens say about that person's character? How would they evaluate that person's character? The person says, I was bit by a dog one time. And I know a lot of other friends of mine who've been harassed by dogs. They were barking at them and trying to jump on them and making a mess or pooping in public. These horrible dogs. That's why, this is what the person who was bit by a dog says, that's why I'm justified in kicking all dogs. Every time I see a dog, I kick it, I grab it, I hurt it. I'm justified in killing all dogs because there was a dog that bit me. Hashtag all dogs. That is an evil person. So if you can't tell when you're doing that same behavior, when you're justifying abusing another human soul, then you're evil. And you don't get to decide otherwise. If there's someone who's going around harming other people, they don't get to decide that it's okay because they think it is. That's called being judge in your own trial. You don't get to reevaluate ethics to be convenient for you. You're not God, so you don't get to decide what's right and wrong. It's not your opinion, ever. If it was your opinion, then when you're in court after a mass murder spree, you could say, well, I think it's fine to murder people, so I'm off the hook, because my opinion is that it's okay. That's evil. That's unethical. So if you can't evaluate ethics, if you don't behave ethically, then you outed yourself as evil. So here's the next point. This is critical. We can actually evaluate you for real. It's not one person said versus another person said. It's not a stack of opinions and you just pick which opinion you like. That's not real. We do have objective measurements of abusive behavior. And we do have a way to verify if you are an abuser. It already exists. And it's been in development for a few years already. It's used for key law enforcement functions in a couple different countries already. Brain scans. We can already put a scanner on your head and we can tell the difference between lies and memories. We can tell if you're actually empathizing, meaning that you feel the other person's kind of emotion in your own chest. You're actually experiencing their emotional state. That's called affective empathy. We can see that in your brain scan. We can regenerate your mental imagery, and we can regenerate your internal monologue. That's something we can already do for years now. If you watch a video of a parrotfish swimming in the ocean, we can scan your brain, and just from the brain scan, we can regenerate that video, parrotfish swimming. And it's getting cheaper, and it's going to become more widely available. And if you want to stop that, you admitted that you know you're evil. If you don't like that, you know you're evil. So if people are forced to get a brain scan, that's a dictatorship. That's a dystopian sci-fi horror world. But good people are happy to volunteer. Good people will gladly volunteer. Put the brain scan on me, and I will admit to all my faults and harms. And I will also tell you about all the work that I've done to help others. And you can measure me rightly. Measure me right. And those good people, you're going to see a few qualities that show up again and again. Not selfish. Not hurtful. Not deceitful. Not submissive to evil. We admit our faults. We empathize with the victims. And we actively seek amends on our own. We seek on our own to clean up the mess and make right what we did wrong. It doesn't mean we've never done anything wrong. That doesn't exist. It means we feel bad enough about what we've done that we take the effort, we put in the work and sacrifice to make right what we did wrong. We are glad to have the chance to empathize. That's a good person. So the good people are going to volunteer for brain scans. And after that, this is strategy, this is systems dynamics. The good people who volunteered are going to only be hanging out with each other. We're only going to work with each other. We're only going to date each other. We're going to form our own community separate from you. And you don't get to have any say about that. If you don't want to prove that you're good, then you just admitted that you know you're not. And you can hang out with all the people like you. And you're all scammers. And you justify abusing each other. And you want to be lazy. And you want to hate everyone. And you'll just have to live with the people like you. So that's where we're headed. That's the trajectory. You can't stop technology. You can even ban brain scans in this whole country. People like me will be flying to other countries. Wherever it's legal, we're going to go there. Just to come back with our certificate. You'll get to see all my faults and harms. Everything I've done wrong. And everything I did right. Measure me rightly. So now we'll get into a few more examples. With that concept, this basic concept. If someone was abused, regardless of their demographic, they will be able to take that to court. And they'll say, scan my brain while I give my testimony. To prove that I'm not lying. To prove that I was harmed. And the person who was abusive, they don't volunteer for a scan. Because they know they're guilty. Now you got a court case where one person verified their testimony and the other people didn't. Guess who wins that court case? So if there's a guy from the manosphere who wants to justify sexual assault of women because he says women want it or deserve it, he's screwed. If there's a guy from the manosphere who says women are all dumb and don't deserve to vote and should just be slaves, he's screwed. He's really screwed. And if there's a woman who wanted to complain about the beauty standard while putting on lots of makeup to get free dinner, that's not as bad of a thing. But was she justifying it? Was she justifying it? Because that's the difference between a good person and a bad person. That's the difference between good and evil. if she wanted to excuse that behavior, she didn't want to clean up her mess, that's evil. She's going to hang out with that guy. They're perfect for each other. They are a perfect match. And they will be left with each other when all the good people walk away. So if you want to justify harming someone else because they're some demographic or political team, you are the abuser. Good people end abuse. Evil justifies it. And you're not getting out of this one.